Now, I want to move on to another topic, Patrick, because the departing de facto Palestinian ambassador to Australia has predicted that a re-elected Albanese government would recognise a Palestinian state, as he's also praised Labor for daring to repeatedly anger Israel and break with the United States in its stance on the Middle East. I mean, who would have thought? Here was Anthony Albanese speaking about that today.
Look, we have a position where we support a two-state solution. I think that quite clearly at the moment what we want to see is peace and security for Israel in the region, but also we want to see an end to conflict. I think that's what most Australians overwhelmingly want to see in the region. And we have had a long-standing bipartisan position in this country of support for two states in the Middle East.
Well, Patrick, it doesn't fill you with much hope when Penny Wong's already sold out our votes, our values for votes on the world stage when she voted for Palestinian statehood at the United Nations. So what on earth is Anthony Albanese talking about?
Well, I think the likelihood of a two-state solution right now is probably, the least likely it's been since 1948. The Jewish community has felt terribly let down. We've seen outbreaks of, antisemitism. They're getting more and more common, it seems. And you've got Penny Wong sort of completely simplistically sort of describing a situation in the Middle East that really doesn't exist. I mean, Israel was defending itself. It's fighting for its existence. And the Jewish people here, who have been here for generations, who are good citizens, have been completely let down. And, the Labor Party, the Albanese government has basically tried to sort of, appease the Palestinian electorate, for the upcoming federal election. And at the same time, trying to sort of pay lip service to the Jewish community. And ultimately, the Jewish community has been totally let down.
Oh, absolutely. And you've got this de facto Palestinian ambassador believing that the government will indeed recognise Palestine. There was a comment made by somebody in the Palestinian network, one of those groups recently, that said Anthony Albanese is the best friend that Palestine's ever had in the lodge. What sort of a message is this sending to the Jewish community in this country, which is already on edge, suffering day in, day out with anti-Semitic attacks?
Bob Hawke will be turning in his grave at this. He was a friend of Israel. He supported what they were about. It was a democracy surrounded by, tyrannies in the Middle East. He backed it all the way. And now you've still got this hard left sort of element, sort of dictating, national policy in a way that's really at odds with what we know and what we thought we knew, and really disregards generations of Jewish Australians who have done really well being in Australia and have really contributed. It's really disappointing.
And then you've got a situation, Patrick, where we're now sending the Attorney General over to Israel to try and quickly mend relations. What is that going to achieve? That the horse has already bolted. It bolted the day after the October 7 massacre on the steps of the Sydney Opera House. That's when it should have started, Patrick. And now we're quickly playing catch up by sending the Attorney General over there.
Yeah, we saw when Penny Wong went over there, she didn't even visit. It's a very symbolic gesture not to visit the sites of the massacres. And we've seen that all the way through. I agree with you, Danica. It had to be stamped on, from October 8, when we first started seeing those dreadful protests, the anti-Jewish rhetoric was allowed to go unchecked. And it's been virtually unchecked ever since, in a way. How do you get it back to where it ought to be? They're certainly not doing a good job of trying to get it back, are they?
No, the horse is well and truly bolted, and once again at the expense of Jewish Australians. Patrick Carlyon, nice to speak with you. Thank you very much for joining me on the show this evening.